I'm Susan Vernon Devlin. I'm the Executive Director of Media Relations and Crisis Communications for CMS. And this morning we have brought you here to get an update on the budget and on the strategic plan. And with that, I will toss it directly to Superintendent Dr. Crystal Hill.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Before we begin, I would like to pause for a moment in honor of the officers involved in the tragic events that took place this past Monday. My heart is broken for those officers, for their families, for our city, and for our nation. Thank you. Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and staff and students are focused on pursuing excellence without exception, each and every day. Using a student-first philosophy in all that we do, we have implemented plans to make sure that every student in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools graduates enrolled, enlisted, or employed. Our organizational excellence model supports and reinforces the culture we want while driving and delivering on the goals and staying within the guardrails adopted by our Board of Education in the fall of 2023. The goals and guardrails are appropriately focused on student outcomes. That is ultimately the focus for all of us. Excellence without exception means we must be excellent in the area of academics. However, we cannot be excellent in the area of academics without attending to other areas that ensure the health of the school district and ultimately will support the achievement of our goals. Our 4 pillars of excellence are academic excellence, people excellence, operational excellence, and engagement excellence. We have a lot of exciting news to share with you today. I am pleased to share that last night, after months of preparation, planning, and engaging with our stakeholders, our Board of Education unanimously passed my recommended budget for the 2024-25 school year. Chief Financial Officer Kelly Kluttz is here to give you a summary of the budget highlights.
The total recommended budget, which includes capital funding and enterprise fund, is nearly $2.1 billion and includes funding for an increase in teacher supplements, increasing pay for our lowest paid employees, maintenance and repairs for 30 school and district sites. Our goal in this budget cycle was to provide information throughout the process in a transparent and forthright manner. We have engaged you, our media partners, to assist with disseminating that information to reach the greatest number of our customers, the Mecklenburg County families that have entrusted us with their children's education. The passage of the recommendation is confirmation that the board supports the priorities that we have identified as integral to the success of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. We are grateful for everyone that's been involved and engaged in the budget, and its outcome will guide the district to improve learning outcomes for all of our students.
Thank you, Kelly. When we began working on the budget back in the fall of 2023, we also began working on the district's 5-year strategic plan. This plan outlines how we will achieve the goals and guardrails set by the Board of Education. Like the budget planning, we engaged all of our stakeholders, students, staff, parents, partners, and community, to provide feedback and input for the strategic plan's priorities and objectives. For more information about this process and the strategic plan, here is Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer Beth Thompson.
As Dr. Hill said, the goals and guardrails set by our Board of Education are focused on student outcomes. That's ultimately the focus for all of us. The 5-year strategic plan will be a roadmap for us to achieve our goals. Within the strategic plan, there are 4 pillars. Those are the pillars of excellence. The academic pillar is most closely aligned with our goals, but the other 3 pillars, people, operations, and engagement, are critical to the achievement of the goals. Within each pillar, district leadership identified priorities, 18 total, that will support goal achievement. We don't expect those priorities to change over the 5 years of this strategic plan. To be clear, all 4 pillars of excellence, all 18 priorities, and completion of all 70 strategies within this strategic plan are required to achieve our goals and guardrails. We will not achieve our academic goals without attention to people, operational, and engagement excellence, in addition to academic excellence. To explain those 18 priorities and 70 strategies in the most summarized manner, here's what we're going to do over the next 5 years. We commit to educating the whole child to world-class standards. We commit to providing a standards-aligned comprehensive curriculum, academic excellence. We commit to training and developing our educators better and faster, and recruiting and retaining those educators better, people excellence. We commit to providing safe and clean environments and the best technologies for students to learn, operational excellence. And we commit to strongly engaging with the community, engagement excellence. And when we do those things with excellence, we'll have greater consistency of high-quality core instruction in our classrooms, greater student engagement, greater growth in students' year-over-year foundational skills, and ultimately, we'll achieve our goals. Academic excellence. So teaching the whole child, using a comprehensive curriculum, developing, recruiting, and retaining educators, attending to school environments and technologies, and engaging with our community, that's what's in our strategic plan, and that's what we'll be doing over the next 5 years to achieve our goals and guardrails.
Thank you, Beth. As I mentioned, one of the main components of our budget is to increase the teacher supplement. This supplement is essential as it allows us to increase teacher salaries. In North Carolina, teacher salaries are composed of the state base salary and the local teacher supplement. The base teacher salary for beginning teachers right now in North Carolina is $39,000 a year. And for a teacher with 25 years of experience, it's a little over $55,000 a year. We know right here in Charlotte, the average list price for a home is $522,000. The average cost to rent a one-bedroom apartment is $1,435 per month. And the income needed to afford a one-bedroom apartment here in Charlotte is over $61,000 a year. I am grateful for our funding partners, our county manager, Dina Diario, and the Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners for their support of our teachers, as evidenced by including $6 million in last year's budget cycle to increase the local teacher supplement. This year's budget includes an additional $7.4 million to increase teacher supplement. This allows us to get one step closer to our teachers earning a livable wage here in Mecklenburg County. I commend our state for their financial responsibility. As of recent reports, I believe our state is well suited to increase the base teacher salary for our teachers here in North Carolina. We also acknowledge that increasing teacher wages is top of mind for our legislators. Teacher recruitment and retention also includes elevating the profession of teaching through increased district, local, and state investments. Our goal is to give our students the very best. They deserve world-class teachers. Our recruitment, retention, and talent development team is hard at work developing strategies to bring and keep teachers here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, and I would like to highlight a few of those efforts. We have our Teacher Assistant to Teacher program, which means that we recognize and honor our teacher assistants who desire to become licensed and serve as the classroom teacher. We also have a teacher residency licensure program, one of the very few that in the state that's offered by a school district. This allows us to support individuals who have a 4-year degree and help them get licensed for teaching. We also have aggressive hiring strategies, which includes our strong partnership with NC Works. So far, we've held 6 hiring events, and we have 4 additional hiring events planned prior to the start of next school year. We are also recruiting at colleges and universities, but we're not just sticking to the schools of education. We're broadening our horizons and making sure that we're reaching students that are going to school for other disciplines. We know that having the very best and brightest teachers in our classrooms has a direct impact on student outcomes and ensures that all our students graduate enrolled, enlisted, or employed. In addition to recruitment and retention efforts, we also have a focus on upgrading our current finance and human resource systems. Chief Financial Officer Kelly Kluttz will now share a summary of how we are preparing to replace our outdated systems here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools.
We are currently implementing the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Modernization System, or CHARMS, project to modernize our financial and our human resource systems. The current system, which we've been using for 23 years, Lawson, is scheduled to sunset in 2027. As you can imagine, it has challenges in meeting the modern day integration, reporting, and security functions. CHARMS aligns with our operational excellence pillar and helps ensure the district's systems and processes are efficient and effective, and will be implemented in 4 phases. The first phase of the rollout is time and absence reporting tool over the summer called Red Rover. Red Rover is a one-stop shop application that will improve, enhance, and innovate our human resources and financial systems. The tool will launch in July with the start of the new fiscal year. Other systems that are scheduled to go live are our accounting and finance system in July of 2025, and our payroll and our human resource system will go live in January 2027.
Thank you, Kelly. There are also a number of other important initiatives happening here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. In April, we launched 24 Safe, Safe Schools, Stronger Community, a multimedia campaign highlighting safety tips and violence prevention steps, including building safety, safe firearm storage, and student staff wellness. As a mom of students right here in our district, and as the superintendent of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, my expectation is that our schools are safe and welcoming for everyone. Acts of violence will not be tolerated. Parents, we ask you to talk to your children about making sure the spaces we live, learn, work, and play are safe. Thank you for being a partner with us in helping to build a stronger and safer community. In addition to our 24 Safe campaign, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools employs multiple layers of safety tools, from Say Something anonymous reporting to weapons detection systems in our middle and high schools, along with camera systems and visitor check-in systems. Here to discuss our layers of safety is Chief Operations Officer Brian Schultz.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. The term school safety is all-encompassing and requires employees to address multiple scenarios such as weather and health-related events, individuals in neighborhoods fleeing crime scenes, and those who intend to cause harm. Thus, a layered approach is necessary as there is no one strategy that mitigates all possible threats. As a significant part of that layered approach, we are fortunate to have a district police department, something that very few districts in our state and nation have. And as we have unfortunately been reminded of recently, this team literally puts their lives on the line for our students and staff every day. The CMS Police Department works collaboratively with local law enforcement officials in our county and municipalities to ensure a partnered approach for a rapid response to all schools in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. The department assigns officers by geography to patrol and respond to our elementary schools. At our K-8 middle and high schools, the CMS Police Department works with local law enforcement agencies to collaborate in support of our students through SRO placements in schools. In addition to our CMS Police Department, our schools are required to have safety plans in place and to practice those safety plans with an emphasis on active intruders. Our schools have an entry system, panic buttons, internal and perimeter cameras, reinforced doors, electronic access, intercom systems, fencing, and locking doors on all classrooms. We have equipped our schools with over 300 additional AEDs to ensure quick and easy access. The Say Something anonymous reporting system has been helpful in identifying safety-related concerns such as potential threats, mental health crises, and bullying, and has received over 850 tips this year alone. And over the last 2 years, we have been operating weapon detection systems in our K-8, middle, and high schools. And all of these tools and resources are part of that layered approach we have in place for our staff and students. But all of the safety plans, tools, and measures that we have in place are only as good as our employees that we have in place to utilize them. As such, one of the most important components of our safety approach is the training we conduct. Over the years, we've had a heavy emphasis on active survival training, and in the 23-24 school year, we made it a requirement for all employees. In the last 5 years, we have trained approximately 27,000 employees, including 15,000 in this school year alone. As part of the training, participants learn how to utilize resources in their active response kits and have been supplied to every classroom and office space in the district. Back in late January, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction released the 22-23 crime and violence data for public schools. While we have been aware of our own positive trends related to weapon offenses, we did not know how it compared to the progress of other school districts across our state. What we discovered was the fact that we were one of very few districts that saw any decrease at all, let alone the significant reductions we experienced. We are extremely pleased with the dramatic decrease in the number of firearms and non-firearm weapons on campus, especially during a time when our local community, state, and nation have experienced a rise in those offenses amongst juveniles. The resources and strategies we have implemented are having a positive impact on the safety of our staff and students in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. While none of these strategies and tools guarantee acts of evil and violence will not take place, we are confident in the layered safety approach. Coupled with the proactive measures in place related to mental health support services, we will continue to take measures to equip our staff and work with our community partners to ensure a safe learning environment for all students and staff.
Thank you, Brian. As we continue to be intentional about making sure our students are able to learn in the safest environment possible, we are also focused on providing learning experiences that are relevant to their success even after they graduate from Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Evidence of these wonderful student learning experiences and successful outcomes was on display at 3 recent exciting events: Road to Hire, What's Your E, and Undecided Day. Deputy Superintendent Dr. Melissa Balknight is here to discuss the positive impact these events have had on our students.
Good morning. I'm excited to share information with you about our recent activities in support of students' post-secondary readiness. Now more than ever, high school students have a myriad of options available to them. The paths they choose to follow are varied and distinct as they are. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools recognizes that a one-size, or in this case, a one-size decision, does not fit all approach. We want our students to reach their potential, so upon high school graduation, they are enrolled, enlisted, or employed, which is why we adopted a district-wide goal that acknowledges the numerous options available to students. In April, we met with our seniors to support them as they finalized their post-high school graduation plans, and we hosted 3 events: Road to Hire, Annual Commitment Day, What's Your E, and Undecided Day. These events provided them with information about opportunities and options to celebrate their decisions. We supported over 1,600 students in meeting their goals. While What's Your E event highlighted students' next steps to either enroll, enlist, or employ, the Undecided Day event was designed to help seniors make informed decisions about their future education, career, and personal development plans. And finally, Road to Hire hosted its annual Commitment Day celebration for graduating CMS seniors who are announcing their post-secondary decisions. Whether students decide to enroll, enlist, or seek employment after graduation, our communication to them will continue to be that they need to have a plan. Having a plan is essential in navigating life after graduation. It gives students a sense of direction, purpose, and motivation to work toward their aspirations. At all three of these events, our seniors had the opportunity to explore pathways and options that align with their interests and goals. We are so appreciative of our community partners who provided opportunities for networking and post-graduation guidance. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools is committed to supporting our students in every way possible, and we are grateful to partner with community members who do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Soon our schools will be busy with end-of-year events and activities culminating with graduation ceremonies for the class of 2024. The 2023-24 school year has been filled with exciting awards, accolades, and achievements by our students and our staff. We're looking forward to even more successes in the coming year. Thank you so much for joining us today, and at this time, we will take questions.
So, Beth, great job of summarizing those 70 goals, because 70 goals does not make good radio. One of them, I think, was something to do with incentives to get teachers into the highest need schools. And I think Dedrick and I have seen a number of approaches to that over the years. What do you all have in mind for how to approach that going forward at a time when it's hard to just find teachers sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of our strategies. It's really under construction. We're doing a lot of work with that right now. One of the things that I would like to call out is professional development. So last year, 51% of our teachers who taught, our new teachers in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, came to us that did not have a degree in teaching. And so while they had a degree in something, they did not have it in teaching. And so one of the heavy investments that we have done is made sure that beginning this summer, we are providing professional development for our teachers beyond the typical 2 or 3 day onboarding that we provide that gives them a long ramp in order to be ready on the first day of school. So in terms of incentives, we do have incentives specifically for principals to go to schools that have been at the lowest performing schools in the state. We have a couple of schools that the principal receives a recruitment bonus. And we've also given those principals some flexibilities in the way that they hire. We also have talked a little bit about teacher housing. You know, there's been a little buzz about that, but we are definitely in the works of forming that strategy out and building out some very specific action steps. But right now, there are opportunities that are available to all of our teachers, but specifically we've advertised it to our teachers that are in schools that are harder to staff, that have reduced rental opportunities. We have great partners that are providing that. We also have home builders right now who are building homes that are coming out of the ground, and teachers will have access to those houses at a reduced rate, and there's more to come around those strategies.
Yeah, I was just related to that. I was wondering if you had like a tentative, thank you. I was wondering if you had like a tentative timeline for that and when you guys think you're going to be able to roll that out.
Great question. Thank you for that. So we plan on doing a very large launch. That's why I'm trying not to say too much and let the cat out of the bag. But we hope to do that prior to mid-July.
Yeah, just want to know, with your $2.1 billion budget, I know it was just approved last night. Do you have a plan B if you don't get the money, since your budget is supposed to be around people, guardrails, and goals and things like that? So what happens if you don't get what you requested? Do you have a plan already in place?
Well, the budget that we presented last night and was approved, of course, includes the expansion for the county. So I believe that you're talking about the county expansion piece. And so my direct answer to that is we've done everything that we can to lift the most high-need areas. In other words, there's nothing that is on our list that we will be taking to the county on May 8th that we can do without. It represents our very basic needs. Now, of course, if perhaps that budget is not fully funded, and I feel very confident that it will be fully funded, but in the event that it's not, what that means is that we would have to go back to our current operating budget and make some decisions, some tough decisions about what we have to cut and what we have to do without.
Bouncing off of that, is there anything that would be first on the list, or is there anything that would be cut first, just if this isn't approved?
We haven't gotten to that level yet. I'm really proud of the process that we've used to develop our budget this year. We've used a TRIGO process, and basically what that means is the Board of Education back in October adopted budget objectives, and each of those objectives have a weight. In all of our projects, we ran through the TRIGO process. So basically, we've been able to rank order and priority order all of our projects. And so with that rank order, in the event that we do have a funding shortfall, we do have a list to go back and review. Another really important part of that process is also a risk analysis. So we don't just rely on what the number ends up, but then we ask ourselves some really serious questions like, what is the risk of this not being funded? And if the risk outweighs where it ranks, then it automatically goes to the top of the list. So we would have to go back and revisit that prioritization process and kind of determine what we need to do next.
Gotcha. And I know there was a public hearing on this. What has been the feedback so far that you all have received?
Yeah, so we started feedback around this very early. And the number one thing that we have heard from all stakeholders, from our students, parents, community members, even our funding partners, was we have to make sure that our employees are paid and that they are compensated well, which is why I feel very confident that this budget will be fully funded, because the that's the highest priority, and that's where you see the highest dollar amount. So the resounding voice is you have to have excellent people. In other words, what they said in very plain language, I remember someone stood up and said, you can do all the strategy stuff if you want, but if you cannot find the very best people to stand it all up, it doesn't matter. So one of my favorite quotes is, things don't just happen, people make them happen. So we have to make sure that we have a strong workforce.
Perfect. Thank you.
And you know, we could do two questions. Yeah. So, question what about this budget process? Lessons learned from this budget process, and what will you take going into next year's budget? Because I know probably next few months you'll be working on next year's budget. So lessons learned, what you're going to do next year and what you're not going to do next year when forming next year's budget.
So we have a relatively new school board, new superintendent, new CFO. So there was a lot of new this year. And so, as I mentioned, we did implement the TRIGO process, which is when the board adopts their priorities. This is the Board of Education's budget, so it's really important that we start with their objectives in mind. And every project has to be ranked against the objectives that they've adopted. And so one of the learnings, I would say, is that we probably have too many objectives because the time that it took to go through each and every project, it was very lengthy. So one of the things that we would probably recommend to our school board is to take a look at their existing objectives that they adopted back in October to make sure, number one, are these still your priorities? And number two, is there anything that we can combine or eliminate? I think that would help us in terms of the time that it took to prioritize projects. I think we did a really good job making sure that we engaged a lot of stakeholders. But one of the things that was difficult this year is we're finishing out current year goals, and we're building a new strategic plan and a new budget with a new team and new school board. So I feel like we had a lot of learnings this year. We did some Herculean things this year, but next year I think we will have the opportunity to start earlier, so early that we will probably begin talking with the board sometime in June about their objectives for next year's budget. So having that conversation while this process is still fresh on their minds, while everybody has great recollection, kind of looking back and doing a after-action review in order to say, how can we make this process even stronger moving forward? The other thing that I will say is that the joint meeting that we had with our county commissioners was extremely helpful in this process because, again, they are great partners. All are supportive of public education, so it was helpful to hear their thoughts and their feedback that we were able to implement. That meeting, though, was in February, I believe, so one of the things that we would probably aim to do is have that joint meeting a little bit earlier, maybe in December, early January, because I think that would give us a little bit more time as we build out the budget.
And then I had a question about safety. The recent events that happened with 4 officers died in the line of duty. 2 of your schools were in lockdown, 2 other schools in moderate lockdowns. Just want to know, as you say that guns, fewer guns are showing up in schools this year, just wanted to know, what is your message to students when they could not be released from school because of an incident that was happening near their school? What message do you give to those students to still keep academic focus, but still they have to deal with real life events where, you know, people died in a violent way? So I just want to know, how does a school district deal with that?
You know, I think, as I referred to earlier, we practice these types of things, these types of scenarios, and there's no way to account for every single scenario that could occur, but certainly a lockdown is one of those. And, a lot of our students know that school is their safest place that they can be. And the practice that we do, the drills that we have in place, when they are familiar to them, give them comfort, provide them structure. Those very same things that we try to do with engaging instruction, we try to do with our safety practices and processes as well.
Can I just add a little bit to that? Thank you, Brian. I think, we're also really working within the walls of our schools, but with our greater community, we really need to start thinking about the value of human life and the importance of being kind and understanding that people have feelings, people have emotions, and how to be respectful and kind, and how we can figure out how to resolve our issues and our differences in ways other than acts of violence. And so that's something that we're really trying to focus on here. You'll see it show up in our strategic plan, but it's also a really strong message that we want to share with our families as well as our community. And I think it's really important that we as adults model for our students the behaviors that we expect, because they're watching us.
Before you ask your question, Ann, Barry, Terry, Ann, do either of you have questions? Okay, Ann, this is the last question.
Okay, so I'm not sure why you chose Waddell to host this, but we were all out here in August for the rollout of the PACE Academy, which is, I think, an impressive and ambitious attempt to work with some of the kids who face some of the biggest challenges just getting to school and getting across the finish line. I would love to hear an update. I know the numbers are not as high as, there was talk about hundreds on waiting lists, and it's still pretty small. The building itself has had some challenges figuring out how to use it. So what are you seeing here with PACE that's working or not working, and what do you say about Waddell when people say, wow, here's a whole full-size high school that was actually part of the bond project? What are we doing with it?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of taking a really close look at our current programs, reviewing some of our boundaries as it relates to the projects that are on the bond, and then also just taking a look at, just in general, the usage of our buildings. So PACE is a great program. We launched it this year along with a number of other programs. It's really difficult whenever you're launching a brand new program, something that you've never done before. The students that have come here have found it to be a great environment. We have an outstanding principal and staff. So we've really ramped up our recruitment efforts in terms of how we're sharing this information with students and the community in general. One of the ways that we're doing that is next Monday night we're hosting a town hall for our Spanish-speaking community. And so as superintendent, if you were to ask me, looking back on this year, what's one of the things that I think I could have done better, or that we could have done better, I think it would be engaging our Spanish-speaking community. So when we talk about the numbers here at PACE, and you're absolutely right, the numbers could be higher. And I reflect and say, what could we have done to make sure that our community understands the value of sending your students here and the opportunities that they have. And so we'll start that next week with that town hall. The team will be sharing information about the program, the things that they have access to. And then of course, we're also looking at what other programming can we put here in this beautiful facility in order to attract additional students. So more information to come in the next couple of months.